Hi, my name's Lindy Cowling. Welcome to the channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. The email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. And the title of the short video today is it possible to miss or bypass my connection or a connection? Is it possible to miss or bypass a connection? A connection being something like a soulmate or a catalyst or twin flame or something like that. The reason I'm bringing this very short, it's only a short one because it's an answer to a question. It's because I've got this question asked a couple of times in the last month or so. And usually if I get asked the same question more than sort of 2 or 3 times, I think it's worth bringing a video out on. I take notice of that kind of synchronicity and then bring something out on it. So let me put it this way. When you are activated on a soul level to meet someone or be in a situation or walk around that corner in the right place at the right time, and you have this recognition, that is all we could say divine timing, kind of like pre-planned on a soul level. And when people say, is it possible to miss them? Is it possible to be standing next to somebody in a store? Is it possible to be walking past someone in a shopping mall? Is it possible to pass someone in the restroom or in the restaurant or in the coffee bar or the diner, or even sit next to them and not recognize them as a connection for you, not recognize them as a catalyst, not recognize them as a soulmate, not recognize them as soul family? If you haven't been activated, or you've been activated and they haven't on a soul level, then at that point in time, it is possible. Now, how do I know that? Because as you know, this channel is an experiential channel, which means it's all based on personal and professional experience. So the reason I know that is not only have I seen that in people over the years, over the last 17 years of working with people, but I have also experienced that in primary soul connections, in catalyst connections, in soul family connections, in twin flame union. I've experienced it. Now I'm going to give you a classic example of this. This is just an easy example of, in a way, meeting somebody when you're ready to meet them. So this is a real story. So when I was 16, I went to a dance with friends of mine in Essex, in the UK, where I was living then, in Essex. And my friend took some photographs at that dance. And then when she got them back a week later, because that was the era when you couldn't take photographs and see them straight away, then you took photographs and then you had to drop them into a pharmacy that developed them within 3 days to a week, and then you got them back. That's how times have changed. When she got the photos back, lovely photographs, and there was this person that caught my eye in the back of the photograph, really gorgeous looking guy. And I remember his face, and then she just stuck them in her photo album, because she used to stick them in photo albums then. It's like a history lesson. I thought no more of it. And it was another 18 months, nearly 2 years later, that I was at a completely different dance in a completely different part of the county with the same friend. And I met a guy who was only there almost by chance, by accident, because that very night he was in the army, in the military. He was going away to do service overseas, actually, overseas in Belize. So it was just bizarre chance. Of course, it wasn't chance that he was there. And because he told me, he was very honest and told me he was going away, I didn't think it was any point in getting involved. And so when he asked for my telephone number, I gave him the wrong phone number. My friend saw me give him the wrong phone number, snatched it out of his hands and gave him the right one. And I didn't think any more of it. Anyway, he went away overseas and he did write and keep in touch. And when he came back 6 months later, the relationship began. But why, or properly began, so to speak, not just via letters and things like that. When he was away in Belize, I was looking through my friend's photograph album, and there was the picture, the gorgeous looking guy in the background of the guy that I met 18 months or 2 years later, that was now becoming my boyfriend, and in fact did become my boyfriend. And I was with him for nearly 4 years. Now, he was a real big main boyfriend, again, but a very tumultuous, fiery, powerful relationship. And the reason I'm using this as an example is I could easily have met him at that first dance when I was 16, but I didn't even notice him when I was there, but I did notice him in my friend's photograph. And I didn't put two and two together when I met him nearly 2 years later and recognised him as the guy from the photograph. It was afterwards. So what I'm saying is he was a primary connection for me, a real, well, you could almost put him in a soulmate category, really. And yet I wasn't meant to activate with him at age 16. And I will add this in that really is nothing to do with the subject of this video, but just to highlight things when they are meant to happen, they happen. It was a tumultuous relationship. He was away a lot in the military and the army. I had carnage going on at home. My father had tried to murder my mother in that period of time. I was on the verge of a breakdown. I was going through a lot of stuff in my teenage years. It was pretty hellish. And Alex, who's his name, was not there to support me in a way that I was desperately needing at that time. I was supposed to go away on a coach with a show to do a little tour in Germany, because on the side I used to like to perform singing and stuff like that and showmanship. He plays saxophone, still does play saxophone to this day, quite well-known bands actually, because I've seen him in the media and on TV. I couldn't go because I couldn't get the time off work, but he went with the show, and the coach that they were on crashed. It went down the side of a ravine, and they were all very, very, very badly injured, serious life-threatening injuries. And as a result of that shock to the system, it changed his entire life, and he came back and decided he didn't want his life to go in the direction it was going in. Now, we had a very fiery relationship. We were quite hard work for each other, and I was definitely quite a troubled young lady with everything else going on wrong around me at that time. And instead of telling me to my face that he couldn't take it any further, although probably, to be quite fair, I wouldn't have accepted it, he disappeared. So he was due to pick me up from work one day and never came back. I mean, never came back. I didn't hear anything again. So I was devastated, and I had psychic ability even at that age, and it kept coming to me that it would be about a year to 2 years later that I was going to walk down a road and see him again and get closure. I went through a very bad time of it, a lot of change at home. Like I say, my mum became a single parent after the attempted murder by my father overnight. And it was a very difficult time. Went through a very difficult part of that process there. I mean, it makes me smile now because I thought that was as bad as it could get. You know, years later, then I go through other experiences that were far deeper and greater than that one, not diminishing this one because they all serve their purpose, and of course culminating in twin flame union, which it was the most magical of all, but in some ways the worst of all. There you go, c'est la vie. So about 2 years pass, I meet who then becomes my husband, who was, because I say was because I'm no longer married, who was not family, not soul family, but was absolutely fantastic, long-term, stable, secure rock. Wonderful. And I love him to bits still to this day, and we are great friends to this day, even though we're divorced. So 2 years pass, we decide to go to a gig in London, which was about an hour on a train from Essex. Me and my then-to-be husband and my mother and her new husband were walking down a London street, and I was slightly tagging behind them, kind of daydreaming. And this tramp is walking up the street towards us. And I looked to the left because I thought, oh, that person's going to fall over in a minute. And as he got level with me, I recognised him as Alex, the person that had disappeared out of my life, left me devastated. I'd been with for 4 years, no word of goodbye, no nothing, just gone. And this tramp that was drunk out of his brains with longishy hair was him. So I froze to the spot, almost like I'd seen a ghost. He walked past me. It took me a second to even move. I couldn't move for a moment. Turned around. I ran back up the street, spun him round and said, it's me, Lindy. And he recognised me despite being drunk out of his brains. And to cut a very long story short, the odds of me, I didn't live in London. In so many, I don't know how many million people are in London, around London, walking down that street at that time, at that moment, passing him is trillions and trillions to one probably. We sobered him up. We took him for fish and chips. I got the closure. He got the closure, the apologies and everything else. Never saw him or heard from him again. Waved our goodbyes and off he went. And I went on to marry my husband, then husband, who is no longer my husband. So the point I'm going into these details like this is to show you I couldn't even make that up. The chance of that happening is, you know, the odds against that happening, and I always knew it would happen. So what I'm saying is, can you miss a primary connection? It depends on your interpretation of miss. When you're activated and it's time for those connections to happen, they happen against all the odds. That is catalysts, that is soulmates, that is twin flames. When you activate, you activate. You could walk down a street in a country you'd never been to and it happens, or you could walk round to your local store and boom, it happens. When it's supposed to happen, it happens. Till then, you could be standing alongside that connection in the store and not even look twice at one another, not even notice one another because you haven't been activated. When another soul connection that came in for me years later, I'm skipping years and years ahead now, by that time when I was a mother by then, another powerful soul connection for me. First time I met them, we pull up in a removal van and the neighbours come out to meet us, and I didn't even look twice at the guy, but he held his hand out to shake my hand. I shook his hand and something just went boom, like smack, right in my heart, right in my stomach. Stomach does a flip over. What the hell was that? I love a long story in itself, you know, 13 years of friendship, you know, the two families almost inseparable, and, you know, a great closeness, you know, great soul connection, definitely previous life experience and things there. Again, you couldn't even make that one up. And last thing you're looking for, you know, someone comes up to shake your hands when you're moving into a house next door. Twin flame union. Boom, boom, boom. We fast forward years again. Didn't even know what twin flames were. Sitting in a spiritual development group. Somebody that I didn't even look twice at. I recognised it was a male, and the only reason I recognised it was a male was because everybody else sitting in there were females, and this shabby looking, I just remember a very sickly looking, shabby looking person I wouldn't look twice at come and shuffled in and sat next to me, happened to sit next to me in the only vacant seat there was. Would I have noticed the connection had he sat in a different seat? Maybe not. If we weren't called upon by the medium running that circle to then do physical work, or I say physical, metaphysical, spiritual work on one another, would I have noticed it? Probably not. But because it was meant to happen and meant to be, and we were sat next to each other, and because we sat next to each other, we partnered up. It went, as soon as we tried to do that work, there was no separation in the energy field. We attempted, it was like, what the hell is happening here? It was like everything rushed together, you know. It was just like, kind of like knocked your head off. It's like, what the hell is happening here? And the sickly looking person that shuffled in that I wouldn't look twice at, well, that just got knocked out of the water because I didn't even see the outer shell of the person then. It was just like, whoa, you know, seeing everything that we'd been, everything in a way that we would ever be, all that there is. So the reason I'm bringing up here very personal examples here is because this is an experiential channel, and I only share what is my experience with clients or direct experience with me. And I'm sharing this to show that if you are meant to activate, to have a massive awakening or massive, let's call it karmic clearing, go up to the next level in your consciousness, go up to the next level in relations, clear one lot of relationship level to go up to another, you activate. Also, if it isn't that time, or you're not quite at the right frequency or vibration to activate at that time, you could be standing next to the love of your life, you know, in the chip shop, in the diner, in the restroom, in the cafe, in the bar, at a gig, anywhere. You could walk, there could be your next door neighbour, and you would not even know if, when you're not in that matching alignment and matching frequency. And then you get click, switched on, activated, boom, ba-ba boom, not va-va-voom, ba-ba boom. So can you miss a connection? Can you bypass a connection? My answer to that would be you can be standing alongside any of these connections and not know it until you have been activated. When you've been activated by God, you know about it. So it depends on your interpretation of missing them. They can be already in your lives, and you be not able to see it because when you're on two different wavelength bands, two different frequencies, two different vibrations, because it is not the time that activation in your soul has been switched on, then you wouldn't even know. But when it is switched on, by God, do you know about it then? Whatever it is. And I'm using examples here of soul family. I'm using examples of connections I had that was to do with clearing things, healing things, projecting things, mirroring things. Many, many years before, you know, I smashed into, slam dunk into twin flame union and went up to different levels and went fully into the heart. Those connections were... Those earlier connections I mentioned, I wasn't even in the heart then. No chance. Not in a million years. That was many years later. So it doesn't matter what levels you're on. This is right across the board, all levels here. When you have been, I call it switched on, when you are in alignment with your ultimate frequency, or even not even a particular frequency. Those earlier ones happened. Was I in my ultimate frequency? No, not a chance, nowhere near. But, you know, they were meant to happen at those levels of awareness and consciousness for the different reasons. They're always for a reason. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It's always for a reason. So to just summarize again, can you miss a primary connection? If you're meant to connect with that person and be in alignment and in resonance at a particular time, it happens. In other words, you don't have to go looking for it. It happens wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Did I ever go looking for any of them? Never once. Ever, ever, ever. They were always totally unexpected, totally out of left field, and I couldn't have even made it up, you know. So, on that note, I will love you and leave you. Much longer video than I intended and much more personal than I intended, but hey ho. Thank you for watching. Thank you for resonating. And I hope you found it interesting. And the moral of this story is, don't worry that you're going to miss a connection that you're supposed to meet, because it happens when you're least expecting it, when you're just going about your normal stuff. There they are. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.